So I just wanted to get an overview about in what capacity you work across different local governments and state governments as it pertains to housing issues.
I work, I represent the city of St. George with our local legislators and with the legislature in general during the session on issues involving housing. I also work closely with the Utah League of Cities and Towns, of which St. George is a member, to also weigh in on any legislation that affects the city's ability to approve housing or make housing available easier for our residents.
Great, thank you so much. So from your perspective, what do you see? How would you describe our current housing market and perhaps the challenges that we're facing here in Washington County and in St. George?
Washington County obviously is a hot housing market right now. I mean, we have a shortage of workforce available housing, not unlike other areas in the country though. And a lot of this situation has to do with the national economy in general and with interest rates. In particular, some of the unique issues for Washington County is that we do have people that are relocating here. It's a desirable place to live and to retire to. We had a lot of growth, internal growth, that we have to provide housing for too. But one of the unique challenges we face is short-term rentals. And when you look at our county, we have 5 million plus visitors to Zion National Park. It's either number two or number three when it comes to the busiest national parks in the country. So we have a lot of visitors coming there. On any given weekend, we have 30,000 plus visitors in our community that want to come here, and we enjoy having them here. They want to come and play in the wintertime, and in the summertime enjoy all of the outdoor activities that we have. And that presents a challenge if some of our housing is taken up with short-term rentals. That means it's taking housing out of the rental pool for those that are in the workforce that are looking for permanent residences.
It makes a lot of sense. And I'm curious about kind of the ability for builders and developers here to keep up with the supply needs. I know we don't have enough housing, and then a certain percentage of that housing is not actually going back to permanent full-time residents here. How do we keep up with that demand?
The city of St. George, in fact, a number of cities here in Washington County meet frequently with the Southern Utah Home Builders Association because they also see the challenge of needing the need for workforce housing. Obviously, they need carpenters, they need carpet layers, they need people to go out and build the homes that is their lifeblood and supports our community. So they're concerned as well. But the challenge here is finding land that's affordable, and again, finding financing that young families can afford. We're in order to get into workforce housing, what we're looking at are some options of doing smaller lots, and the communities here have all adopted ordinances that allow for smaller lots. Trying to get creative on accessory dwelling units, and that would be internal, meaning in an existing home where you create another dwelling unit in that home, or having an external dwelling unit that would be available on what have traditionally been single family residences. But I think if you look overall statewide, you will see that the number of non-traditional single family homes being built statewide has dropped, and the number of those smaller condominium or other units for families has gone up quite a bit as everybody struggles to find a way to have a bigger supply in order to fulfill the demand and also help stabilize the prices.
What has been the approach from St. George? I know that there's specific zoning, and that's been one way that that has been controlled. But from your perspective, how do you balance the need for accommodating our tourists, because that's so much a part of our economy, and making sure that the locals here do have homes that they can afford and that they can afford to live in the place that they work?
City of St. George is working with our development community to try to balance the needs between those that are here temporarily visiting and those that are here permanently and looking for a place to stay. We've worked with zoning regulations with the Southern Utah Home Builders Association to come up with unique developments. Desert Color on the south end of the city comes to mind, where you have the whole spectrum of housing units available in one community, so that you have people that and families that are living in what we would call maybe a starter home in a condominium just down the street from the traditional single family residences, but they also offer short-term rentals in that community as well that cater to the tourists. And so we have all of that in one community, and the community is developed and designed to accommodate those different needs in different areas. And yet all of those different groups can associate with one another and live together, use the same trails and parks and amenities that are there. So those are some of the things that we're trying to do. And I think other cities statewide are also trying to do the same thing.
And then, I know that there's certain places, probably within Washington County, I know up north, that really rely on the ability to have short-term renters because like Park City, I think 40% or so of the homes there are short-term rentals. If this was off the table, if there was, stricter rules on getting permits or getting licenses for short-term rentals, how could that impact the economy?
I would not say that our goal is to restrict short-term rentals. Our goal is to make sure that each city has the ability to regulate them in a manner that works best for them. For example, a Moab has a lack of workforce housing, and those that have lived in that community for generations, whose children are now there, cannot afford to buy a home in their own community where they want to stay because of the competition of short-term rentals that drives up the cost of housing. And that goes along with fractional ownership too, where a home is offered for sale and five individuals can buy into that home at $400,000 each or $500,000 each. It sounds like a great deal, but what it does is drive up the cost of housing for everyone in that community. And so what Moab faces is different than the challenges faced by Park City, that also has a lot of short-term rentals and also needs workforce housing for those that are working in the hospitality industry, versus St. George, where we are the fifth largest city in the state and still a resort community as well. And so we're trying to balance the needs of having that ability to rent a short-term rental. I've rented short-term rentals. Most people have. They're very convenient when you have multiple family members going on a trip and everybody can be together. But there's a place for them, and the regulations need to be there so that each city can decide what works best for them. Because there are communities along the Wasatch Front that aren't facing this challenge. They're not a unique resort area, and so they don't have the challenges in their neighborhoods that some of us face that are a resort area along with a regular community.